Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to install a top box on my Hunter 350. The box is not installed right now, so I just have it sitting there. It's not mounted yet. The brand of the box is AHR. Came in this box, made in China. Contents of the box: we have a poor set of directions, hardware, and cheap generic tools. A mounting plate, so that plate's going to mount to the luggage rack on the bike, and then the box mounts to the mounting plate. And then we have a bubble wrap bag that the box itself was in. Also laying on top of the box inside the bag was that piece of foam, which I originally thought was packaging, protective packaging, but I believe it's actually the liner for the bottom of the box. So normally I like to open stuff on camera so you can see how it's packaged, but I came home from work and this had been delivered and the box was kind of beat up and stuff was rattling around in it. So I just decided that I would go ahead and open it up on the spot and make sure it wasn't damaged. And it's not. The box um, is decent quality for, I mean, it's a plastic box. You know, it's okay. It's good for the money, I would say. The packaging was really poor. I mean, you can see the box is damaged. It's a fairly thin wall box. Like I said, it only had that thin bubble wrap around it. And your hardware and stuff was just inside the box rolling around. There was also a set of keys that came with it. The keys are elsewhere. I already set those aside. Again, the box is not mounted. I just sat it up there. One, to get it out of the way, and two, to kind of get an idea how it was going to look. And I think it's going to look really good. All right, so the first thing we need to do is get the mounting plate on. This is going to sit up here something like this. Again, poor directions, right? So, I wasn't even going to look at these, but then I decided before I start bolting stuff to the bike that I would just kind of lay the plate on the bottom of the box, try to figure out like what holes I'm going to use to mount what things, because that bad boy's got a lot of holes. My thought is that the the four predefined threaded holes there and there, those are going to be the holes that you're going to use to mount the box to the mounting plate. And all these other holes, they're just there to give you adaptability to be able to mount the plate to virtually any luggage rack on any bike. And I'm still going to go with that because when I look at my Chinglish directions, it shows mounting the plate to the luggage rack with 4 bolts, 4 washers, and 4 nuts. We can see 4 bolts, 4 washers, 4 nuts. You're not going to put nuts on the bottom side of threaded holes. And then when we look at the back side, yep, here where they tell you to mount the box, they say use that screw and that washer, no nut on the other side, which means you're going to need the threaded holes. So come over to the, it's kind of dark in this corner, so I may need to get a light, but We come over here and look at the bottom of the box. Well, um, we got 2, 4, 5. Eh, supposed to be 6 holes, but that's not even punched out all the way. It's just got a thin layer of plastic on it. So that's, in my opinion, I mean, it's no big deal, but it's very indicative of quality. You already know that this mounting plate is going to be used for any and all boxes that they sell. This is a 33 liter AHR box. They also have either a 28 or a 30 liter, and then they have a 35 and I think a 42 or a 48. There's multiple sizes. I'm sure this plate gets used for every box that they sell. So this is going to be probably impossible for me to show, but basically what we got going on is if I line up that hole with the hole beneath, with the hole that goes through the box, this one on this side, that lines up and that lines up. So I think I can do that, right? But then when I come down here to the bottom, it might work. Might work. So I think we're going to use these two and these two. That should work. I don't like putting the mounting plate on top of my luggage rack because it's metal on metal and I'm going to scratch the hell out of everything. So yeah, I'm not a fan of that. So I do want to put something on the underside of this, and I'm not sure what I'm going to use there yet, but like it's already scratching the paint on that. But essentially what you're going to do is you're going to have this up here. You're going to use these bars, and they're going to go underneath and line up with any set of holes that you can figure out. And you're just going to clamp this to that. And then the box is going to bolt to it. I mean, it's simple. I would definitely like to put something under that plate. I wish it should come with like a piece of rubber padding or something so that you're not scratching everything. All right, so my solution is Gorilla Tape. I'm not going to put it on the luggage rack. I'm going to put it on the bottom, just a strip right on the contact points on the bottom of this mounting plate. There's better things that you can use for sure. And the reason why I'm using Gorilla Tape 100% just because it's sitting right here in front of my face. So makes it rather easy. Makes it a rather easy solution. So now that I've got a couple strips of Gorilla Tape on the bottom of this plate, where the contact points are for the luggage rack, I'm going to go ahead and get this centered on the luggage rack and figure out which holes I'm going to use to mount it. So this plate just clamps to the luggage rack. You have 2 metal rails that go underneath on the bottom side of the luggage rack, and then you drop 4 bolts, 2 through each rail. They go through the top of this plate and come down through the bottom through those rails, and then you just tighten them down with some nuts on the bottom side. And originally I had planned on running these mounting rails horizontally, but it worked out better for me to run them vertically, like lengthwise with the bike. So if you're mounting this box to a different type of luggage rack, it might work out differently for you. Basically, you just got to position everything and figure out what works best. You got a lot of different options because you have a lot of different potential mounting holes there. So you have the same thing going on with these mounting rails that you had with the top plate, being that they're just metal. So when you put them up against the bottom of your luggage rack, you're metal on metal. So I did the same thing with the metal rails that I did with the top rack. I put some strips of Gorilla Tape on them so that the contact points were not metal on metal. Now it can be a little difficult to get these bolts started, so just take your time and make sure that the two rails are positioned in the exact same spot on either side, and the bolts go through the same holes directly across from each other on either rail. And don't tighten anything down until you get all four bolts started. Then you can go back and forth and snug everything up, making sure that that top plate stays nice and square and lined up on the luggage rack. If you tighten this plate down crooked, then when you put your box on top of it, obviously your box is going to sit crooked on the bike, which you definitely don't want. So this is what the mounting plate looks like once it's mounted to the luggage rack. I used either corner of the mounting plate in comparison with the bar that goes across the back of the seat to judge whether or not it was square and lined up. I didn't measure, I just eyeballed it. You can see through some of the holes on the mounting plate where I put the Gorilla Tape to protect the contact points on the luggage rack. On the underside, you can see the bolts are way too long. This really bothered me initially, and you'll hear me bring this up again when I close the video out and I talk about, the overall quality of the box and the install and whatnot. And I had originally planned on cutting these down, but now that I've had this box on here a while and I'm coming through and editing this to post, I will tell you that I'm probably not going to cut these bolts off because I'm using these as the points to hook a bungee cord net onto the back seat for like a backpack if I want to throw a backpack on the back seat up against the box. So I've actually found a use for these, but if you're not doing something like that, these bolts are way too long, so you would either want to buy some shorter bolts or cut these bolts down. So with the mounting plate mounted to the luggage rack, it's time to mount the box to the mounting plate. So this is a straightforward process. You just put the box up on top of the mounting plate, open it up, line your holes up in the bottom of the box with the threaded holes on the mounting plate, and then you take the thin cup washers that it comes with and you sit those down in the indentations for the holes in the bottom of the box. And then you run your bolts through and just wind them in and snug them up. Done deal. But I ran into one issue. The bolts were way too long. And it just so happens that the way the mounting plate is installed on the luggage rack, when I wound the bolts down through the mounting plate, the end of the bolts bottomed out against some of the framework on the luggage rack, so I couldn't snug the bolts up and tighten the box down. So I did have to take those four bolts and just cut them down with a cutoff wheel. The alternative would be to buy different bolts. And this is my biggest gripe, and you'll hear it again in the closing section of this video, but the hardware is just, it's subpar. There's no reason for these bolts to be too long. Not even for a different application, because the box is only going to be so thick and it screws directly down onto the plate. So, they just put way too long of bolts in here. So once you've got the box mounted to the plate, don't forget to throw your foam padding down in the bottom of the box. So that should complete the installation of the box. However, I noticed when I closed the lid and latched it that I had a wider gap between the top and bottom halves on one side than I did on the other. So I played around with placement of the box on the mounting plate and tightness of the bolts and stuff, and ultimately determined that the latch assembly needed to be adjusted on the inside of the box. So the latch, both top and bottom, can be adjusted. And I think the top is what I wound up playing around with to get things to kind of line up a little better It could still be a little bit better, but I definitely got it better than it was. So just be aware. I didn't get a lot of good video footage of that or anything, so I'm not including it, but it's very straightforward. If you just look, you can loosen the bolts and slide things back and forth and up and down, the latch and the striker on the top of the box. So just be aware that if it seems like once it's mounted, it's not lined up, the top and bottom of the lid is not lined up properly, you just need to adjust your latch. All right, so here's the final result of the AHR 33-liter top box installed on my 2024 Hunter 350. Overall, very happy with the way this looks. I think the style of the box fits the style of the bike rather well. It can serve as a backrest for a pillion. It's hard plastic, but it's better than what you had before, which was nothing. As far as storage space, I find it to be ample. Very easily accommodates my helmet and riding gloves. So, you know, if you go somewhere, you can stow your helmet in there while you're gone. And then when you come out, you take your helmet out. You got storage for whatever purchases you may have made. This is the Bell Qualifier full face helmet in medium, and it holds it just fine. I also have my gloves in there. Fit and finish on the box, it's okay. It's a plastic box, so, you know, it lines up okay. I have a little bit more, like, no gap down here and a little bit of gap over here. I think that's primarily due to latch alignment, so I'm going to play with that a little more. It was way worse, and then when I adjusted the latch, that got a lot better. So that's a thing. The latch was not adjusted correctly at all. The hardware is pure crap. That's really my only complaint about this box, is the hardware. Like I said, fit and finish is decent. It's got little imperfections and stuff. The paintwork finish is okay. Hardware, not good with the hardware. Sorry for the airplane flying over my head. Normally I have a mic that cancels that out, but the battery went dead on it, so I'm actually filming this for the second time. Anyways, yeah, the bolts are all way too long, so I'm sure they just use the same hardware package for all their different size boxes for any bike application, so they just give you some oversized crap. I'm going to cut all those off. I'm going to paint those brackets black. They should be black. The gold sticks out like a sore thumb. The biggest problem, biggest complaint is the bolts or the screws that go through the box and then through the plate. You can see one of them right there. That's after cutting them down. Cutting like at least a 1/4 inch off of that. So they were so long that they bottomed out on the luggage rack, and I couldn't even tighten the box down to the mounting bracket. So that's ridiculous. That's going to be the same thickness on this box, no matter what the application. So there's no reason for those to be that long. So big letdown on that. I cut them down, made them work. Might replace them at some point, just with some overall better hardware. So as a whole, I like the box. I think it looks about as good as a top box could look on this bike. Gives me the proper amount of storage that I was seeking. Will serve as a backrest. The price was right. $75 for the box. Amazon Prime. don't like it, send it back. Free returns. Showed up in 2 or 3 business days. All that's good, you know. It's mounted to an Amazon Prime luggage rack, $112. So I got the whole thing, the whole setup for under $200. You're not going to get that if you buy a better quality setup. The Gibby would be a lot better, I feel like, but you're going to put a lot more money into it. And I was concerned, had some reservations about the way the luggage rack appeared to mount on this bike if I went with the Gibby, which steered me away from it. I would have no complaints with this top box if the hardware was better. So I would have loved for that box to have some sort of quick release method or quick mounting method where you flip a couple levers or something and the box slides off of the mounting plate so that it's really easy to put on and take off. Because there might be times, if I'm not using it a whole lot, if I'm just taking the bike out for pleasure rides, making those stops, you know, maybe I don't want the box on there long term. I don't know. So that's a thing that I wish it had. In no way should that mounting plate be metal. That's ridiculous to make something that's going to be mounted metal on metal. So that should have been like a thick, like hard plastic or rubber coated, or at least have some sort of rubber pads that protects your luggage rack. So you saw in the installation video, I was just trying to get it on and do something. So I had a roll of Gorilla Tape sitting there. So I slapped some black Gorilla Tape on all the hardware that would have been metal on metal as a temporary solution. Same with the bottom brackets. Shouldn't be gold anodized. Shouldn't be metal on metal. So that's all bad. But it can be remedied rather easy with some foam padding or some single-sided like foam tape, or you could just go you know, hillbilly like me and slap some Gorilla / duct tape on it. There's options. So it's not a deal breaker. Just know going in that the hardware sucks. Well, the one thing that I absolutely was thrilled with is that reflector on the back of the box. Comes off really easy. So there's 4 screws here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Take those 4 screws out, the reflector comes off. There's going to be enough space, I'm pretty sure, behind that reflector. Maybe I'll eat my own words when I go to do it, but pretty sure there's going to be plenty of space behind that reflector to install LED strip lighting. So there will be a video coming out rather soon, I would say, where I modify this. And I'm going to have a row of LED strip lights across the top behind the reflector, set up as running lights, and I'll have a secondary strip below that will be brake lights. Because when you have this, your brake light is way back up under there. So I think that's going to increase visibility quite a bit. Already had that in my mind when I bought the box, but I kind of figured that was going to be glued in. It's not. It comes out easy. So I think that's going to make for a really easy modification. While I'm at it, I'm also going to make this bottom reflector down here below the license plate an extra brake light. So a video is coming out pretty quickly for that, I think. So be on the lookout for videos on that. But again, overall, I feel like it looks great on the bike. It's going to serve its purpose well. Very happy about the easily modified reflector to have extra lighting. So yeah, I would recommend it if you're looking for a cheap-ish solution. I do have a video on installation of that luggage rack, so I'll try to throw a link or something in the video so that you can jump on over to that pretty easy. If you haven't installed your luggage rack already, I recommend you bounce over to that video and check it out. And then if any of this has helped you out, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you on the next video. Thanks. Bye.